Okay, so now the fun finally starts. We're gonna finally start sculpting. So if you have the lightbox open, just close it with this button, click on import, and then find your FBX file. So I'm gonna open mine and say okay. It's gonna show up in here. You click and drag once, let's import it, and we click on edit right away before doing anything else. So if you did the part where you center the model on the grid and freeze the transformations, the model should be right on the middle. So if you turn on symmetry by hitting X on your keyboard, you should see the symmetry working. Now to subdivide it, you can either hit Shift D or go to geometry and click divide a few times until you don't see any more polygons when you sculpt on it. Let's see if I make the brush smaller by hitting S. Well, I can still kind of see some polygons, so I'll divide it one more time. So we're at 3 million polygons. That's still fine. If you're getting to 10 or 12, that's when it starts getting heavy. So now we have our model. Before you get into details, a lot of people jumps into sculpting the abs for some reason. What we want to do is the same thing that we did with our drawing, but this time with our reference, that one reference that you got at the beginning of the class. So to bring the reference in, you just have to go to texture. This is the picture you found of real people here. We're going to find it. You have to say import under texture. And then I save a picture here. I don't have a model picked here, so I just grabbed from the class files one. That picture is in here now on the textures. So if I click again on textures and select it, we're going to add it to what's called the spotlight. So spotlight is used to transfer textures. So if you were to paint now, you'll be transferring this picture to your model. But we don't want to do that. We just want to use it for reference. It looks a little strange. This dial here is to manipulate this picture. So if you click outside the circle, that's like where you're placing the pivot point. So if I place it at the feet here, you see on this dial there's a little scale tool, so you can scale the picture to size. And let's frame everything here, or zoom out a little bit so we're both the same size. Let's say about right there. I know my picture is gonna have perspective, so it's never going to match exactly, because the picture you're using is a real human with perspective on the photography. Now if you want to move your picture, you can click anywhere inside the circle, so you can leave your pivot point there. You click inside the circle and drag it to where your model is. Let's say, and we'll have to adjust here a little bit, and then once you have it in place, this over here will fade it in and out. Okay, so we can use it as a reference. Now, like I mentioned, this tool, the lightbox, is meant to transfer these colors to your model. So you can pass the color of the skin right into your model, but we don't want to do that yet. We want to sculpt. So what I'm going to do is go to brush and samples, and here where it says spotlight projection, we'll turn that off so our picture doesn't transfer to our model. So now we're ready to go. I can make the picture a little more transparent, I guess, about right there. And this dial, you can make it go away if you hit Z, and the picture you can make it go away if you hit Shift Z. So if you can't see your model, Shift Z will bring the picture back on. If you hit Z again, it'll bring back the dial. If you click here, well, oops, just click it back on the feet here. I think we're a little too big. Yeah, that's about right. And this is where you have to fudge things a little bit, We're trying to compare our proportions. The one thing I want to do is use the move tool. So click on the brush and hit M for move, and topological is, so you could hit B for brush, M for move, T for topological. And now I can start moving. remember we have symmetry turned on, so I'm gonna hit that dial by hitting Z. And the brush, usually you want it, oops. The brush, you usually want it bigger than you think it should be. So I'm gonna hit S for size and then start matching things here. So just like we did in Maya, but this time with the actual person, you know, this guy's pretty slim. So I'm gonna move my base mesh to match him, right? And if the brush is a little bit bigger than you think it should be, it will match. It will move things easier, you know. So let me move the feet out. Let me make the brush real big actually to move the whole foot. Maybe a little bigger. Move the foot here. Trying to match things the best you can. You know, and you'll have to just be happy when matching one side. You won't be able to match the whole thing. Now my model straps are too big, so let me zoom in here. Oh well, let's just do it right there. Right. So you probably have to average between the two, you know, between the one side and the other. Some people is leaning to one side. Some people has an arm that's thicker than the other ones, if you can believe that. That's pretty common actually, especially if you play tennis or some kind of sport that uses one side more than the other. But see, that's getting closer and closer with just big changes. Let me make the brush smaller, so hit S, S again. And now, before we jump into the apps, we want to add the major landmarks like the Simon skull. So what major landmarks would I have? So I'd say the proportions are fairly close right now. Let me just turn off the picture here. Yeah, the crotch is aligned, the feet are aligned. The thickness is somewhat similar. The neck is about the same thickness. So see, it changed quite a bit. Let's see the head. It might even need to be longer actually. Well, it's the hair. So we'll leave it like that. So now I can hit Z again and move the picture to the side so I can look at it while I work and make it full opacity here or close to it. And now I can work on my model. So the first thing I want to do before I start adding the ab muscles that everybody wants to add is looking at my model and seeing those landmarks that I mark on the picture. So the bones that we see the most is the sternum, the clavicle, the elbows on the back, the knees, the hip bones in here, and those are the ones we want to add first. So let me hit Z to get rid of the dial and Alt to put my model here, and I'm going to try to put those in here and try to start matching everything. So the clavicle bone, oops, I still have to move brush here. So I'm going to hit B and go back to the regular standard, which is S and T, and then hit S to make my brush smaller. And I'm going to, let's see, I lost my pen here. Here it is. So I'm going to look at the clavicles and mark those first. You know, try to make it look like the picture I see. So the muscles all mount to those, so we want to match those the best we can by sculpting. So you could have moved the polygons on the low subdivision level if you wanted to. It'd make it easier actually. I didn't do that, but you could have done it. So I'm gonna hit S to smooth these changes here, and usually when your brush is big and you hit Shift to smooth, it'll smooth everything a lot. If the smooth brush is smaller, you know, it will not smooth as much. So it'll keep the same size you're using when you're sculpting. So I'm gonna hit S and then go back down and see what other bones I can see. So I can see the bone here on the hips. So I'm gonna put that in there. And then if I go smaller, so hit S for size, go smaller, I see like a little crease there, so I'm gonna put that. So if you Shift is for smooth, Alt Alt is for reverse the brush. So if I go over it now, if I hold in Alt, see how it's going in, indenting instead of sticking out. So I see that little indent right above his hip bones. And maybe this brush is not appropriate. Maybe I should use the dam standard instead of the, because the dam standard makes more of a crease. But I'm gonna just keep it how it is and smooth it out, you know. At least when you're sculpting at first, you'll be spending a lot of time smoothing, you know. Your sculpting might be very rough, and I'm gonna move this a little bit. And then you decide to, you know, just embrace the ugly, you know, if it looks ugly at first. It's the same thing we did with the model. It looked really ugly at first, and then little by little we improved it. We just have to be okay with being patient with your work. So don't despair, you know. I don't think this guy's ribs are that prominent, even though he's pretty slim. I can not see his torso very well, like where the rib cage is. So I can add a layer of clay here. So I'm gonna hit B for brush, C for clay, and L, I guess there's clay buildup and just regular clay. I'll just add regular clay here and kind of smooth out this a little bit, you know, gently putting some clay in there and then smoothing it out by holding shift. If it's stick out too much, you can use the flatten brush, B, F for flatten. I guess the next letter would be A, so I can flatten it out a little bit so it's not sticking out so much. Right. There we go. So that's kind of flattening the rib cage. That's very prominent on my original base mesh, but not so much on the character itself. So again, the main bones you have to put is the hip bone, the knee. You know, I had to do a lot of work here on the knee. The rib cage, if you see it, and then you add your muscles. So the clay brush, the flatten brush, you know, all those will be very handy to you. The move brush, but I don't want you to stress about it. I want you to take your time. This should be the enjoyable part of the build, the sculpting. So just take your time, have some fun, and sculpt the bones first, then start putting your muscles afterwards. That will make things a lot easier. Put the big masses first. So the big masses will be your thigh muscles, the pecs, the lats, if you can see them, probably shoulders, and then you can go down to the abs, the belly button, and all that other stuff. Do not try to guess with the shorts, you know, just sculpt what you see. So if you see shorts, sculpt some shorts in here. And I'll show you how to do that on the next class.